What's up, everyone? Today I have a treat for you. Today we're going to go over my home studio, give you guys a tour of it, let you see the equipment that I use, why I use it, and how I have everything connected. So without further ado, let's get on with the tour. So I started building this studio about 3 months ago when the whole coronavirus hit. We're limited on going to other studios because, we're in the middle of a pandemic and I needed a studio to use. So I said, why not just build my own studio? So that's what I did. I live here in LA. I live in a 4-level townhouse. So this studio that I built is located at the bottom level of my townhouse. This room actually used to be the dog's room, the dog's playroom, and I had it transformed from the dog's playroom and remodeled into a studio, and I'm actually still remodeling everything. Notice on the wall you see the foam panels. All of that's coming down. That's going to be replaced with bass traps. One of my boys came over and he was like, bruh, that foam does absolutely nothing. I just put in new hardwood floors. Behind these white doors is my soon-to-be mic room. It's still under construction. Once it's complete, I'll show it off to you guys, but for right now, it's still being built. And another thing, like I said, this used to be my dog's playroom, so the baseboards still need to be cleaned and painted because my dogs have big jaws, big teeth, and they put a lot of dog slobber everywhere. So now that I've given you all a brief history on this room, let's get to the real reason why you all clicked on the video, and that's the equipment. So the centerpiece of this whole studio is what I call the cockpit. And this is my production desk. This is my knee 5060. This is my soft tube console 1. This is my brand new iMac Pro, very powerful computer, followed by two 32-inch LG widescreen monitors. Going into the cockpit, the desk is a Music Commander V2 from StudioDesk.net. I love this desk. It's a really nice size. It's pretty big, but not too big for the whole area that I have. So the centerpiece of my studio is the Knee 5060 centerpiece. When I'm mixing, everything goes through the different hardware chains and everything pours into my Knee 5060, then back into Ableton. To the left on my desk, you'll see the soft tube console 1, and I use this on every track within Ableton. I love my console 1 because I'm able to make changes within my DAW without always having to use the mouse. Very convenient, especially if you use the hardware. This is perfect. Another thing on my desk is the Roly 25C board. I use this whenever I'm doing sound designing. Very good piece to have. If you don't have it, get one. I bought this one used. Forgot how much I paid for it, but really good tool to have. Also on my desk, I have about 6 external hard drives for different sounds. Also have DirecTV, a little holder for my pens, a little hand sanitizer, and that's the cockpit. In my cockpit, I'm surrounded by 5 racks of equipment. Here's my mastering chain. To the left, to the right, I have my mix bus chain and my bass bus chain. And at the bottom is a patch bay, and this patch bay goes directly to the Neve 5060. My DAW of choice is Ableton, so I have a push 2. Headphones I use is the Audio Technicas. I have another pair of headphones down here, and I use this to check my mixes on the Apple AirPods, whatever you want to call them. But I use those to check the mix. So like I said, I have 5 racks of equipment. Here's one, that's my second rack. Third rack is up here. Fourth rack is down there. And then on the desk itself, I have another rack. It's 2 racks, but I just consider it one. So let's get into the equipment that I have. So the way I've built my studio, I produce in the box, and then when it's time to mix, I mix outside the box. And each one of these red tabs are buses, and each one of these buses go out to a different hardware chain. And I'll explain each one. So let's start from the left, and that's the Vox Bus. The Vox Bus signal comes out of Ableton, and then the Vox Bus comes over to my Drummer 1961, and this is a stereo vacuum tube EQ. After the 1961, it goes down to my Alesis 3630 compressor, and then it goes from there over to channel 3, 4 on my Neve 5060. So that's the Vox Bus. Next bus is the high range bus, and this is just any musical instrument that's in the range of 4,000 to 20,000 kilohertz. They all get put through this bus, and then that bus comes out right here on the desktop, and it first hits the Clariphonic EQ. Then from the Clariphonic EQ, it goes to a pair of KT 2A compressors. The left one's on the left side, we go to the right, and then my right one's on the right side. Then that signal leaves from there, and it comes into, you guessed it, the Neve 5060 right here on channel 5, 6. The next is the mid-range bus. Now my mid-range bus comes out of Ableton, then over here to my Cranborn 500 ADAT. The first 6 slots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, are used for my drum bus. These 2 slots are for the mid-range. My mid-range bus is basically just used for my guitars. Any guitar sound, they just go through my mid-range bus. I send them here. They both come out of Ableton. First thing they hit are 2 Camden 500 preamps, and I just use these for the mojo. Cream just adds a little bit more high end to the sound. Thump adds a little bit more bass to the sound. Then once that signal leaves the Camden 500s, they come over here to a pair of Neve 551 inductor EQs, and then they go off into a pair of Neve 535 diode bridge compressors. Then that signal leaves there and comes over here to line 1112 of the Neve 5060, and that takes care of my mid-range bus. Next bus you'll see is my bass bus, and my bass bus leaves Ableton, then comes over here. First it hits this distressor, then after the distressor it goes into this SPL vitalizer, which I use to tighten up the low end. If you don't have an SPL vitalizer, if you can't afford the hardware version, you can get the plug-in version and it works just as well. So when that signal leaves there, that signal comes over to the knee 5060, and this is my bass bus. So next will be my kick bus. So my kick bus leaves Ableton. My kick bus comes over here as mono. So the first thing it hits is this HRK color module. Up here I have 80s tape, low end, high end, and then there's an EQ on it too. But usually I just leave that bypass. I usually leave everything on here bypass. I might use the 80s tape to give the kick drum a little bit more crunch, but everything else is usually turned off. So the kicks leave there and they come down to this Pultec clone. And with my kicks, I'm just usually boosting around 100 Hertz, maybe 3, maybe 2, something like that. Cuts usually about the same. I'm not really doing too much to the kicks, just giving it a little extra boost. So the kicks hit the warm audio, then it goes into channel 1 of my drum mixer. Next is the low percussion bus. When that bus leaves there, when the sound leaves there, it comes into channel 2. It's a mono signal, and that's for things like timpanis, for any percussion that's going to hit the 250 or lower hertz, it goes through there. Usually I'm using a thump on this, hit it with a little bit mojo, then that signal leaves here and then comes down to channel 2 on the mixer. So this is the kick, this is the low percussion bus. Next is my snare bus and the mid percussion bus. And I send both of those buses, the snare bus and the mid percussion bus, over to channel 3 and 4 of my 500 ADAT. Those get hit with the mojo. I usually use cream. Sometimes I might use thump, but it's mostly cream. Those leave there, come down to the mixer. Channel 3 and channel 4 would be for my snares and mid percussion. Next is the hi-hats. So my hat bus is for hi-hats, cymbals, crashes, or anything like that. So for those, I do all the EQing in the box. So that's why you see these 2 blank plates on the 500 ADAT. That signal still comes through here. It's a stereo signal. And then it comes down to the mixer, which is channel 5 and channel 6. The rest of these channels on the mixer, I don't use. These are just my drum bus, so I only use the first 6 channels. Channels 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are not in use. I don't use this mic. I don't use the mono, and I have the master out. So once my drums come in through this mixer, they go out through this master, and the master then goes to a pair of EQP KTs. I love these EQs because they sound great on the mid-range. I already have my kick going to the warm audio, so I use these for the rest of the drums. Even though my kicks still come through here, but as you see, I'm EQing the mid-range. So all my drums leave the mixer, they come to a pair of Pultec clones. When a signal leaves these pair of EQs, they then come down to the successor compressor. I'll usually put a side chain. I keep my side chain on about 160, so the kick is being side chained and the rest of the drums are being compressed. It's a DI bridge compressor, so the sound is amazing. The kick still goes through this compressor, but it doesn't get compressed because it's side chained. Then the signal leaves there and comes over to my Zulu tape emulator. And with this, I can make the drums dirty. I can give it a little bit more modern sound. I can put a little bit more thickness to it. The thing about the Zulu is it's a passive box, so you need to add volume to your signal after it passes through, which is great because after that signal passes through there, it goes over here to the knee 5060. Like I told you, this is the centerpiece. It goes over here to 9 and 10. This is my drum bus. I can control the volume right here. This is the master signal that feeds back into Ableton. This is the insert, and this insert is my 2-bus chain. Let's look at the 2-bus chain. The signal path on my 2-bus is, first the signal goes into a pair of knee 542 tape emulators. Then the signal leaves there, and I have my choice of compressors to use. I could either go with the West Audio Dion SSL style compressor, or I can go with the Shadows Hill Vandergraaf. And the way I use these compressors, if I'm looking for something like more bass heavy, like hip hop or something like that, then I go with the Vandergraaf. If I'm producing like an R&B song or something that need to just be more transparent, then I go with the West Audio. Then when those signals leave either one of these compressors, it then comes up here to the Drummer 1974 parametric EQ. I only paid $1,000 for this EQ. You get the low cut on there, mess around with the low end, the low mids, high mids, highs, and you can do your high cut. Love this EQ. So that's my 2-bus. My 2-bus then goes back into my Neve 5060, and the Neve goes back into my Apollo, and this is the Apollo 8X. So that's the equipment that I have and I do my mixes on. Another piece of equipment that hasn't got here yet will go right here, and this will be the HA73 mic preamp. Like I said, the studio is still under construction, so we'll get to it. Okay, so let's talk about this mastering chain. In my mastering chain, I have first the SPL Pass EQ or Passic EQ, and that's my mastering EQ. Once my signal leaves there, it goes down here to the Neve MBP. And then once the signal leaves there, it comes into the Neve 5060 on channel 1, 2. Also have a mag EQ. Well, I had a mag EQ. I took it back because I felt like the plug-in was just as good as the hardware version. So I sent my mag EQ back and got my money back. Whenever I do my podcast, the mic that I use is this AKG 214. I also have an AKG 414. Over here, I have a pair of Purple Audio EQs. I just haven't hooked them up yet. Don't really know what I'm gonna hook them up to. I had them on my map. I used to have them on my 2-bus, but I took them off the 2-bus. So I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with them. But for right now, they're just lingering around right here on the desk until I find somewhere to put them. On my desk, I cut open the arm pad by mistake, but I have another arm pad over here, this red one that I still have to hook up. Just haven't done it yet. This is the Complete Control 61. Also have a Kai Advanced 49. I just don't have it down here. I have like a lot of equipment upstairs too, in the storage that I haven't even brought down. The monitors that I use are the Dyn Audio BM5 MK3s. I love the sound of those monitors. They're flat. They don't boost anything. I keep all the settings flat. Up at the top, I have a 60-inch TV, and I pretty much just use it for my PlayStation. What you see over in the corner, you'll also see an air purifier and the globe. I just don't have anywhere for this globe to go, so it's just there. Also, if you have a studio, make sure your studio always smells great. I make sure my studio smells great, and I get these candles from ArcadiaDesigns.com. Check them out. So behind this rack, I have a nice big sofa sectional chair. This chair is so soft, feels great. Great addition for the studio, and it sits off in the corner. Also off in the corner, I have a couple of storage. I have a storage slot, and I have a little shelf which holds all of my camera accessories and any other accessories I have. They're over here. Keep a little fan to keep the room cool. So yeah, that's about it of the studio. I'll have another updated version of my studio in about 2 months. So you guys check back in. Don't forget to like and subscribe.